Hello, good morning from Austria. In this short video, I'm going to talk about the immigration to Europe at higher age, and especially if you are not an investor, as you have limited financial resources, and if you have higher age, especially over 40 years old, and especially if you have a family, then the question is that whether there is a way to immigrate to Europe. The answer is yes. It's not easy, and I'm going to talk about some of the difficulties in this short video. First of all, immigration to Europe is very important for many people. It's a life and career goal for many people. You might have it as a dream. You might to fulfill that for your family, for the next generation. So this is something that we can understand. I personally moved to Europe at the age of 23. So at that age, at the age of 23, almost 20 years ago, this was much easier. Especially I had computer skills and I did my bachelor, master's at that time. So it was relatively easy for me to find a job offer and immediately move to Europe with a job offer. That was the situation that we don't have it at the moment. Right now, after Corona, after the war in Ukraine, and after the economical crisis and so on, the situation is much different. And especially if you are at the age of 40 or more, and if you don't have that much of financial resources, it can be difficult. Now, moving to Europe doesn't have any special formula. It's really highly depends on your destination, on your situations, and so on. But I can approximately tell you if the candidates, they are at the age of 20, 30 years old, then usually the best way is to move to Europe as a student. If you are at the age of 30, 40, then probably the best method is to move to Europe with a job offer, considering that you have already finished your university, you graduated, and you can find a job, and you can take a look at the list of jobs that are required in Europe. So you can find a job offer, an employer, and then you move to Europe as a skilled worker. If you are above 40, it doesn't mean that you cannot move to Europe as a student, or you cannot move to Europe as a skilled worker. In most of the cases, however, it is a competition that is available between you, if you are at the age of 40 or more, and those people who are lower age. And usually, typically, the universities, the employers, they prefer to choose the younger candidates who don't have a big family and all of. Still, it is possible at the age of 40 or more, or 50 even, to find a student position, to find admission from a university to move to Europe. And that's exactly the part that we are focusing. So if you are lower age, at the age of 20, usually you don't need a career development. You can apply, and most probably you will get an admission from some of the universities in Europe. But if your age is higher, then probably you need a supporting organization, you need a mentor, you need somebody to show you to do this, to do that. From the perspective of employers, I can tell you what is that real difficulty. If somebody is at the age of 20 and the employers will tell them, hey, do this, do that, usually the person will do that, which means that there is no friction between the employers and employee. But if you are 40 years old, usually the employers might hesitate to tell, as a matter of respect. They might not tell you all of the detail. So right in the beginning, they might not give you a job offer. That is a typical understanding in the Central Europe. I'm talking especially about the culture in Central of Europe, Germany, Austria, Netherlands, and the neighboring countries. So in this part of the world, if you have lower age, it's assumed that you can be easily integrated into the system. You can understand the rules, you can understand the procedures, you can follow the instructions, and all of this stuff comes into the calculation from the perspective of employer. Now, if you are at the age of 40 and more, there are still some chances that you can move to Europe, especially if you're not an investor. So of course, if you're an investor and you have €500,000, I repeat, €500,000, like a 500,000 euro, then of course you can move to Europe and start your own business. Just simple example of that is if you buy a property like a hotel or something, and then you can also employ other people, then there is a chance. If you're not an investor, which means that you don't have that much of money, of course there are some running costs, travel costs, and that administrational costs and all of this stuff. So if you don't have €500,000 and you're almost in the range of, let's say, €10,000, €20,000, something in that range, and you want to move to Europe at the age of 30, 40 or more, there are a few prerequisites that are required. First of all, you need to be prepared. You need to be really, really prepared to learn local languages in Europe. For example, if you want to move to Germany and Austria, sooner or later you need to learn the German language. You don't need to know it right in the beginning, especially if the job that you're doing is highly an international position. You can communicate with the people with the English language, especially if you are also working in some labs and machines, and the machines can be handled using the English language, then you probably don't need the local language right in the beginning. But sooner or later, you need to learn the local language, German language, or other languages that are available in Europe. So you need to be prepared. This is the first thing. The second thing is some of the skills that you have. For example, the work experiences that you have or the knowledge that you have might not be relevant in Europe. From the perspective of employers, the people take a look at your relevant experience, not the experience that you have in your own country. Typical situation that the people send me their CVs and it's written 20 years of experience. Well, 20 years of experience is in the industry that you had outside of Europe might not be relevant in Europe. And in most of the cases, the employers legally can stay within the range of 3 to 5 years of maximum relevant experience. So if you have, even if you have 20 years of work experience and it's relevant, employers will consider 3 to 5 years of work experience, and more than that, you will not get a salary wages. Basically, you can move to that position, and from the second year, third year, your salary might be increased because of your real experience. But right in the beginning, this might not be the case. Another thing is that you need to consider if you are moving to Europe with a family, with a spouse, with children, and so on, you need to show your financial support in a bank account. So if you don't have the money, let's say cash in your account, of course you need to show some other financial resources, maybe a property, maybe somebody that can support you, maybe an organization like us who can potentially give you a scholarship. So all of this stuff can increase your financial resources from the perspective of administration who are processing your visa application. So there are several items that you need to consider. But I'm telling you what is the most important thing that you need to consider. The most important thing is that you need to really be serious and consistent along this way. This is a long journey. It doesn't happen in 1 week or a month. This might be a journey that you will start and might get the first result after 1 full year of consistent effort that you are investing in this method. It means that you might send hundreds of applications. Typically, we're talking about 150 to 100 relevant applications. And of course, we will support you with all sorts of the documents and other things that you might need to show your skills. Basically, there is a competition, and in this competition, you need to be better than the other people. Other people, they might have better knowledge, experience, better certifications, better support, better recommendation letters. So on all of these aspects, we can help you, provided that you can also invest time for improving your own skills. This is absolutely important. The procedure to move to Europe cannot be handled by someone else. Nobody can go to an interview on your behalf. You should go to an interview. You should learn. You should improve your language. And all of this stuff needs to be done by you. Of course, someone else can help you, like us. We can help you, support you. If you do a project, you will get a certification. If you do a project, you will write an article to show your skills. It doesn't need to be an academic article, but there should be an infrastructure, but you need to invest time. And in this method, it's very important that you are consistently investing time and you have lots of motivation. So if you are really motivated to move to Europe, I can tell you, it doesn't work with 1 hour per day or something. This project is not going to get any answer if you just have 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day is probably to improve your language skills and learning the culture. That is probably 1 hour per day you need to invest for over a duration of a year. In addition to that, you need to invest at least 1 hour for improving your CV, improving your profile, your portfolio, to bring yourself an added value, to bring yourself into a position to be an added value to a potential employer. This is something which is very important. Also, you need to gain the knowledge outside of the area of your comfort zone. So for example, if you're an engineer, you might need to learn some management skills. If you are a manager, you need to learn some engineering. Both groups need to learn the other interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary skills that are required for the employer. Please remember that most of the employers in Europe are mid-sized or small companies. Of course, there are some large companies available in Europe, but most of the companies are small companies. Small companies, I'm talking about the companies that are less than 200 people. And when a company is only 200 persons employed, then you can consider they cannot employ you to do only one part of the job. You probably will be responsible for a few of the tasks. So you probably are responsible to work in the lab, doing some management, talking with the customers, doing some reporting, educational events, or going to the fairs, exhibitions, and so on. So you might be responsible for several tasks. Of course, it is understandable that in your own country, especially outside of Europe, if you're coming from a highly populated region, you probably have the expertise to work on a specific area. But in Europe, I'm telling you, it's very important that you should show your flexibility to work in the larger area, to take larger responsibilities. Just take a look at the administrations here. The administrations who are issuing the visa, there is one person who is checking the documents and taking a look at the history of those documents, making the evaluation of the document, issuing all of this stuff, and finally giving the visa. So one person basically is responsible for the whole procedure. You might know it in your own country that might be 10 people involved in the procedure of an administration work. But here it is very typical that one person can do lots of things. It's very similar to the bank. You can go to the one person in the bank, and this one single person can do everything related to the specific customer. So you need to have a wider range of expertise in compared to typical jobs outside of Europe. So you need to be multidisciplinary, multi-skilled, and so on. And these are the things that you need to know, you need to prove, and you need to document. Well, if you say that I know all of this stuff, it's not enough. You need to have a well-documented profile to show and prove that you can do all of this stuff. And that's exactly the point that the acceleration program like Cademix Institute comes to you as a supporting organization. We can help you to define the project, but at the same time, it's also a matter of documentation and proving your skills and systematically put them into your CV. Anyway, we need to consider individual CVs on one by one. We'll analyze that. For now, this is the end of 2022. Most probably this procedure of the Cademix Acceleration Program and the Cademix Career Autopilot will stay the same for the next couple of years. It might be that the cost of the program might adapt to the new conditions. So if you don't have financial resources and all of this stuff, you should have time. This is another resource that you need to have. It doesn't matter if you don't have money, but together, money and time together is some resources that you need to have. So if you don't have that much of money, you need to have time. Maybe you can get involved in some of the project, run ongoing project and so on, so that you can get more discount. Also, part of the payments, we will plan it so that we get our coaching and consulting, mentoring money will be paid later on once you get into the position. And from that perspective, we made it a little bit easier for the people and applicant from outside of Europe. But at the end of the day, you need to remember always, you should always pay with money or with your time, one of these two. And if this is a life goal for you, and if you're interested in moving to Europe, of course, we can help you. Please take a look at the website of the Cademix. We have lots of resources and descriptions and interviews. And if you have any question, feel free to ask. I personally prefer to answer many of the questions that individuals asking. And if you have already finished your bachelor or master, and if you have some years of work experience, you have a good CV, you can send your CV, and I personally will take a look at your CV, and I'm available to have an individual discussion with all of you so that you get a best awareness before you enter this way. Thank you, and talk to you later. I'm looking forward to have more candidates in the near future.